What do you think about first when you go for a job interview? The moment you're invited for an interview, you think about what you're going to wear. Well, yes, that's the first question that appears in my mind. So, sometimes when we are very excited for the interview, we might just overdo, all right? We might just wear excessive stuff. At other times, we might go a bit too formal as if we are going to a wedding. On other times, there's a possibility that we don't care, so we might go very, very casual. Other than this, there are many more fashion mistakes that we tend to make. You might be very smart at dressing, but sometimes we all tend to slip up for job interviews. So keep watching this session with me, Michelle, on Skillopedia, the place where you learn skills for the real world, because today I'm going to share with you 5 of the worst fashion mistakes that you must avoid. Alright, so the first fashion mistake that we all tend to make is by dressing inappropriately. Alright, so what is dressing appropriately? Is that your question? If we don't have to dress inappropriately, what exactly it is to dress appropriately? Well, dressing appropriately does not only mean wearing a suit. After all, if you're being invited for an interview for a summer job, a suit would be a bit too much, isn't it? And if you have applied for the job of an accountant in a firm and you go in your flip-flops with the jeans and a casual t-shirt, that's also not appropriate. So basically, we should not be going too casual or way too formal. Dark-colored clothes with a blazer and a sleek tie should be enough. And I think you should really avoid very bright colors. And for the girls, I think you can also go ahead with a nice shirt, a dark colored shirt with a light color blazer, and an appropriate skirt, which means a skirt that has knee length. And now one very important tip that I have for you is, sometimes when we have a virtual interview, let's say on Skype, we tend to wear clothes appropriately until the belt. And below that, some of you might be just wearing your boxers, which is very inappropriate. You should dress for a Skype interview or a virtual interview as if you're appearing for an interview face-to-face. According to Bloomberg, once an interviewee dressed up like that and they asked him to do an activity, trust me, he was not ready to get up out of his seat. So make sure you don't do that, and I hope you finally understood what it means to dress appropriately. Now here is a really bad fashion mistake, and that is wearing high heels. Yes, you heard me correctly. I said wearing high heels and not just heels. So it's okay to wear heels. It's not a bad idea. Basically, in my opinion, I think heels are much more professional than wearing flats. But if your heels are way too high and it might just cause you to stumble or it affects your movement or your mobility, in that case, you should not wear them, because it's better to have a co-worker who is more comfortable than one who's actually trying to fit in. What do you think about it? Let me share an experience with you. I had this student in my college, so I was the head of the student council, and she came to me for an interview. And when she walked into the room, she made quite a good impression by what she said in the interview. But when she walked out and walked in, I couldn't help but notice her heels, because she was almost about to stumble and she was so nervous just because of her heels. So it's very important that what you wear in your feet is very comfortable, because that impacts your entire personality in the interview. So wear something that you're comfortable to move around in. Even shoes are not a bad idea. Possibly shoes with block heels or wedge heels instead of pencil sharp heels. So no to high heels. You may not believe that this is a fashion mistake, but it actually is. What you carry in your hands makes a lot of difference. Sometimes if you're carrying unwanted things in your hands, it's not a very good idea. We'll come back to that later, that what you should not carry, but there are things that you must carry for the interview, and that is your resume, so that, the interviewer can have a look at it again and, gain more insight, and you could possibly describe your resume or tell him things that he won't know just by reading it. More than that, you should also have your laptop sometimes to demonstrate the projects that you've done so that you can show your experience to the interviewer. Now, coming to the things that you should not be carrying are, I can't believe I have to say this, but when you go for an interview, you should not be carrying food and drinks with you. Once I had to deal with a student like that. He came in with a bag in which he possibly had his lunchbox and drinks. I am actually sorry, he might be just coming from somewhere, but I think it's a good idea if you come directly to the interview and without any drinks or food in the bag. Because when he came in, there was this, obnoxious smell that was coming in the room. So he was also quite embarrassed because of that. So I suggest that you avoid carrying food and drinks with you. But if at all you feel that you would want to have water, then you can always ask that at the front desk, or maybe carry a bottle of water at most and avoid food items and fizzy drinks, all right? So this is another tip for you. Please avoid such things like food items and drinks, and you can definitely carry your resume and your laptop and look very professional for the interview. Do you know what are unfamiliar clothes? So unfamiliar clothes are those clothes that you have not worn or not broken into since some time. So let's say there's this very special suit which you really like, but it's been a year since you've attempted that suit. And then you think that, all right, I'm being invited for this interview, why don't I wear my special suit? That's a great idea. But maybe you don't fit in it anymore. You may have grown a little, or maybe you might have reduced some weight and it does not fit you correctly. So it's important that you go for a dress rehearsal, which means that you practice the clothes that you're going to wear. So don't go for brand new clothes or clothes that you have not tried in a long time. By doing this, you will avoid any sort of fashion disaster on the day of your interview. So make sure you wear the clothes that you've tried before and they're quite familiar to you. So I have shared with you a lot of fashion mistakes that should be avoided on an interview. But that's not all. There's a never-ending list of fashion mistakes that must be avoided by an interviewee. This could include jewelry. Not jewelry overall, but excessive jewelry. So excessive jewelry looks very jazzy. At the same time, you might want to cover up your angelic tattoo on the arm, which will look again not so appealing to the interviewer because you're not going to the beach. And dressing sexy is for sure not appealing because it's not the right place to dress sexy for. If you want to wear that amazing dress at a party, you might go ahead. But if you plan to wear that for the interview, it's not a great idea. Right. Now there's one very special tip that I have for you, and that is trust your instinct. When you dress up, you can trust your instinct or your gut feeling. But how do you do that? So after dressing up for the interview, you go and stand in front of the mirror, and at the first look, if you feel that there is something that is not appropriate, then you need to alter that or change that. Sometimes, like I told you earlier, we might wear a suit that we've not attempted in a long time and we may have grown a lot since then. So you may have to go plus size as well. But be honest to yourself, if you need to go plus size, you may just do that. That's absolutely fine. And at other times, if you go and stand in front of the mirror and you feel that you look great and you're very confident about your professionalism in terms of dressing, then go ahead, because your dress reflects the confidence that you have. It reflects the personality that you are. So if you're confident with your dress, it'll show on your face. So this is the tip that I have for you, the final tip, and that is trust your instincts and trust your gut feelings. So you may have already seen a lot of videos telling you what you should be wearing at a job interview, but this is one of those videos where you have learned the mistakes that you should not be making at the interview. So here you have a short list, and I'm sure that it's not very hard to avoid these mistakes. So please go for your next interview carefully and dressed appropriately, which does not mean a suit and which does not mean flip-flops. Wear whatever is appropriate for the interview. You have to think carefully. Alright, so I hope you learned a lot through this session. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks, and come back to our channel Skillopedia, the place to learn skills for the real world.